Most people think success is a mystery, that it's hidden behind some curtain or locked away in a vault. It's something you build, something you earn, brick by brick through decisions, actions, and effort. That means you can have it. You can become wildly successful, not because someone hands it to you, but because you train yourself into it. Think about it like learning a language or playing the piano. No one is born fluent in Spanish. No one sits down at a grand piano at 5 years old and starts playing Mozart out of nowhere. You learn, you practice, you make mistakes, you look ridiculous, you keep going. That's how success works. The people you admire, the ones crushing it in their careers, leading companies, writing bestsellers, or building empires, they've trained themselves. They've failed, adjusted, and kept showing up. And while you're sitting there thinking you're not good enough, they're out there sharpening the skill of being successful. You've got to stop waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect timing, or some magical motivation to hit you like lightning. That's not how this works. There is no magic. There's just work. And the best part? You can start right now where you are with what you've got. What you need to understand is this. Success is made up of boring, repetitive, unsexy stuff. It's showing up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work even when you're tired. It's being willing to look stupid while you're learning. It's saying no to distractions and yes to growth, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. If you can learn how to push through that resistance, if you can practice doing the hard things, you're building the muscle of success. And just like going to the gym, it gets stronger the more you use it. But most people quit way too soon. They try something, and when it doesn't blow up overnight, they throw in the towel. Listen to me. Success is not a lightning strike. It's a slow burn. It's consistency. It's doing one thing better today than you did yesterday. It's being relentless about learning and unlearning. It's asking hard questions, taking ownership of your choices, and refusing to be a victim of your circumstances. You're not stuck because you lack talent. You're stuck because you think success is something other people get to have. You believe it's for the ones who have connections, money, the right degree, or perfect timing. That belief is the thing holding you back. And you can drop it right now. Here's a mindset shift that changed everything for me. I stopped asking, can I be successful? And started asking, what skills do I need to become the kind of person who succeeds? That question opens doors. That question puts the power back in your hands because skills can be learned, habits can be built, beliefs can be challenged. So if you want the real secret to success, it's this. Treat it like a craft. Learn it, practice it, study people who've done it, fail forward, get obsessed with growth, do the things you don't want to do when they need to be done. That's it. That's the whole game. And don't be fooled by social media. Don't be fooled by social media. The curated feeds, the wins, the awards, they're just the highlight reel. You don't see the 5 a.m. wake-ups, the nights filled with doubt, the projects that bombed, the risks that scared them senseless. But they kept going. And if they can, so can you. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect. You just need to get started and keep going. And every single day that you show up, you're not just working, you're building the skill of success. It's not a secret, it's a choice. And the power to make that choice is in your hands every single day. Your life is a reflection of your decisions. That's it. That's the truth most people don't want to hear because it puts the responsibility squarely on your shoulders. But that's also the most powerful thing you can realize. Every single choice you make, what you say yes to, what you avoid, what you believe, how you spend your time is shaping your future. Success doesn't happen because you got lucky or stumbled into the right moment. It happens because you made decision after decision, again and again, that pointed you toward the person you wanted to become. We love to romanticize success. We talk about it like it's this huge breakthrough, this dramatic moment when everything changes. But let me tell you something, it's never about one big decision. It's about hundreds of small ones. It's waking up early instead of hitting snooze. It's working on your side. Hustle after your day job when you're tired. It's choosing to have the uncomfortable conversation, applying for the opportunity you feel unqualified for, or walking away from the relationship that's dragging you down. Those are the decisions that build success. And the crazy part? They're happening every single day. Most of the time, we're not even aware of them. That's why awareness is so critical. You've got to wake up. You've got to start paying attention to the way you're living. Are your decisions aligned with your goals, or are they aligned with your fears? Are you moving forward or staying stuck because it's comfortable? Look, it's easy to talk about your dreams. It's easy to say you want to write the book, build the business, lose the weight, change your life. But are your daily choices reflecting that desire? That's the question that will tell you everything. And I get it. Change is hard. It's uncomfortable. It means facing your habits, your excuses, your patterns. But you have to choose discomfort now, or you'll live with regret later. There's no avoiding the cost. You either pay the price for discipline today, or you pay the price for disappointment tomorrow. Either way, there's a cost. The difference is one leads to growth, the other leads to regret. Your brain wants to keep you safe. It wants certainty, routine, and the known. So when you start making decisions that stretch you, decisions that involve risk, effort, or vulnerability, your brain will resist. That's normal. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're on the right track. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not changing. And if you're not changing, you're not growing. What I've learned is this: the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with talent or intelligence or resources. It's filled with decisions. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, courage over fear, action over procrastination, you're building that bridge, and no one else can build it for you. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Stop waiting for motivation to show up or for life to get easier. It's not going to. You have to decide that you are done being stuck, that you are done living on autopilot, that you are done letting fear and doubt run your life. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You need to make a decision, and then another, and then another. Every successful person you admire got there because they made a different decision than everyone else. They chose to keep going when it got hard. They chose to believe in themselves before there was any evidence. They chose to take action when it didn't feel good. That's what separates them. Not luck, not timing, decisions. So if you want success, stop asking for guarantees. Start asking yourself, what decisions am I making today that my future self will thank me for? Because your future isn't some mystery. It's a result of the decisions you make now, right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Your destiny isn't written by chance. It's written by choice. Make the one today that moves you forward, even just a little, and then make another tomorrow. Stack those choices. Let them build momentum. That's the path to success. It's not flashy, it's not easy, but it's yours to walk, one decision at a time. Let's get one thing straight. Discipline will take you places motivation never will. Motivation is a feeling. It's fleeting. It shows up when it wants to, and most of the time it doesn't. You can't count on it. You can't build anything lasting on something that's unreliable. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. It's a habit. It's something you do, not something you wait for. And that's why it's the real engine behind success. People ask me all the time, how do you stay motivated? I don't. That's the truth. I don't wake up every day excited to do the hard stuff. I don't always feel like writing, working out, making tough calls, or pushing through obstacles. I'm not some superhuman. I'm just disciplined. I've trained myself to act regardless of how I feel, and that's the difference. Discipline means doing the thing even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. The myth is that successful people are somehow more motivated, more passionate, more inspired than everyone else. That's nonsense. The real difference is that they've stopped waiting for the right mood. They've stopped needing the stars to align. They've built habits that carry them through the days when they'd rather quit. That's what you need to do. If you only work when you feel good, you'll never get anywhere. Because let's be honest, most days you won't feel like it. Life is busy, you're tired, you're distracted, things come up. Emotions fluctuate. And if your progress depends on how you feel, your success will always be inconsistent. Discipline removes that variability. It gives you structure. It keeps you on track even when your emotions are all over the place. And here's what most people don't realize. Discipline creates freedom. It sounds backwards, right? We think of discipline as restrictive, as something that limits us, but the opposite is true. When you're disciplined, you take control of your time, your energy, and your focus. You stop living reactively. You stop being a victim of distractions and impulses. You start owning your life. And that gives you freedom to grow, to create, to build the life you actually want instead of just drifting through the one you've got. Discipline is also how you build confidence. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even a small one, you send a message to yourself. I can trust me. That's powerful. That's how self-respect grows. That's how belief is built. It doesn't come from reading quotes on Instagram. It comes from proving to yourself over and over that you'll show up even when it's hard. But you've got to start small. Don't wait for a grand plan or a total life overhaul. Pick one habit, one promise, something simple. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's putting your phone down during work hours. Maybe it's going for a walk every day. Whatever it is, make the decision once and then follow through. That's how momentum is built. Not with intensity, but with consistency. The truth is, everyone wants the results. Everyone wants the success, the health, the wealth, the impact, but very few are willing to do what it actually takes. They want the reward without the routine, but success is in the routine. It's in the boring, repeated, disciplined actions that no one sees. That's where the magic is. That's where transformation happens. So stop chasing motivation. Stop sitting around waiting for the mood to strike. Decide what matters to you and then act like it matters, even when it doesn't feel good. That's the muscle you need to build. And it is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you show up despite your feelings, the easier it becomes to keep showing up. Look, motivation might get you started, but it won't keep you going. Not when things get tough. Not when you fail. Don't overthink. Just act. It might be uncomfortable. It might be awkward, but it will be real. And real action leads to real results. This rule doesn't just help you do big things. It helps you show up for the little things that matter every day. Getting out of bed when the alarm rings. Choosing focus over distraction. Speaking the truth instead of staying silent. Over time, these small wins become who you are. They build a version of you that is bold, decisive, and in control. The clock is always ticking. And the choice is always yours. You can let fear talk you out of the life you want, or you can count down and launch yourself into it. 5 seconds. That's all it takes to change everything. There's something incredibly powerful about being relentless. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never falling or failing. It's about deciding that no matter what happens, you will not give up. You will not back down. You will keep moving forward, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if nobody claps for you while you do it. That mindset, the relentless one, is what separates people who talk about success from the people who create it. See, anyone can be motivated when things are going well. It's easy to be confident when you're winning. But the real test is what you do when everything falls apart. When your plan fails, when people doubt you, when the effort isn't paying off the way you hoped. That's where the relentless ones shine. They don't quit. They don't collapse. They adjust. They take a breath. They reframe the setback, and they keep going. Being relentless means you stop making excuses. You stop blaming the economy, your past, your upbringing, your age, your circumstances. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission or make it easy. You realize no one is coming to save you, and that's okay, because you're capable of saving yourself. You choose grit over comfort. You choose persistence over pity. You choose to keep showing up even when everything in you wants to disappear. Relentless people have this quiet fire in them. They don't need constant praise or recognition. They don't need to be told they're doing great. They've already decided that the vision they're working toward is worth the struggle. They know that success is earned through repetition, through discomfort, through a ridiculous amount of patience. They understand that consistency beats talent when talent stops trying, so they just keep going. They stay in the game long after most people would have quit. When you're relentless, failure doesn't define you. It teaches you. You stop fearing it. You expect it. Because you know that every failure is just feedback. It's data. It's redirection. And instead of letting it destroy you, you use it to get better, to get sharper, to build resilience. That's the real win. Not that you never fell, but that you always got back up. That's what creates unshakable confidence. Not that you never struggle, but that you trust yourself to get through it. This is where most people stop. When things get uncomfortable, they think it's a sign to quit. When the results don't show up fast enough, They start doubting everything. But relentless people, they understand that discomfort is the cost of growth. They understand that anything meaningful takes longer than you think and demands more than you expect. And they're willing to pay that price. Let me tell you something. Talent will get you started, but discipline and relentlessness are what will carry you through. The world is full of talented people who gave up, people with potential who never followed through. But the ones who rise, the ones who build something that lasts, they're the ones who stay in motion, who get knocked down and keep moving anyway. Relentlessness is a decision. It's waking up every day and deciding that no matter what happened yesterday, you're still in the game. It's refusing to let temporary emotions dictate long-term decisions. It's pushing forward when your mind is screaming at you to stop. It's not about energy or hype. It's about commitment. Quiet, gritty, unshakable commitment. You don't have to move fast. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to move forward inch by inch, day by day, step by step. That's how progress is made. That's how breakthroughs happen. Not in a flash, but in relentless persistence. When you feel like quitting, remind yourself why you started. When you feel alone, remember that every champion once stood exactly where you are, at the edge of doubt, faced with a choice. Give up or keep going. So choose to keep going. Choose to be relentless. Not because it's easy, but because you've decided that the goal is worth it, that you're worth it. Let the world underestimate you. Let the odds be against you. Just don't underestimate yourself. Because the truth is, the most unstoppable force on the planet isn't talent, luck, or timing. It's a person who refuses to quit. Be that person, keep going, relentlessly. There's one final piece to the puzzle that no one talks about enough when it comes to success: consistency. Everyone wants the secret hack, the shortcut, the instant result. But the truth, the real magic is in showing up over and over again, even when it feels boring, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Consistency is what takes an average effort and turns it into extraordinary results. It's not about doing one big thing once. It's about doing the small, important things daily without fail. You don't get fit from one workout. You don't become a master after one lesson. You don't build a business or change your mindset in a day. All of that comes from repetition, from sticking to your habits and routines when the excitement wears off, from showing up on the days when nobody's watching and you're not getting any recognition. That's where the real progress happens. In the quiet, unglamorous moments when you're building something brick by brick. Consistency is how you prove to yourself that you're serious. It's how you build trust in your own word. Every time you follow through, no matter how small the action is, you reinforce the belief that you're capable, that you're disciplined, that you finish what you start. That self-trust is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you use it. But the only way to build it is through consistent action. It's easy to be consistent for a week. Anyone can commit to something when they're excited. But what about when life gets in the way? When the schedule's tight, when you're tired, when motivation disappears, that's where most people fall off. That's where they convince themselves it's okay to skip just this once, and one day off becomes 3 days become a week. Before you know it, the habit's broken, the momentum is gone, and you're starting from scratch again. But the people who succeed, they keep going. They do it even when they don't feel like it. They know that it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's not about intensity. It's about frequency. It's about showing up and doing the work, especially on the days when it's hardest, because those are the days that matter most. Being consistent doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It doesn't mean you'll never mess up. Of course you will. You're human. But it means that when you fall, you get back up fast. You don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. You don't throw in the towel just because you hit a rough patch. You recommit. You realign. You keep showing up. And here's the powerful part. Consistency compounds. What feels small today adds up over time. 10 minutes of reading every day turns into dozens of books a year. A daily walk becomes a healthier body. Writing a paragraph a day turns into a novel. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but over time it becomes massive. Success doesn't happen in big leaps. It happens through tiny steps taken consistently. You've got to stop waiting for motivation and start relying on discipline. You've got to stop chasing intensity and start respecting the process. Consistency is the price of entry. It's the grind behind the glow up. It's the reason the results eventually show up. And it's something anyone can do if they're willing to stop making excuses and start making decisions. What matters most is not what you do once in a while. It's what you do consistently. That's what shapes your habits. That's what shapes your identity. If you want to be a writer, write every day. If you want to be strong, train regularly. If you want to build a business, work on it every single day, even if it's just one small action. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait to feel ready. Just commit to showing up. Consistency doesn't just build success, it builds you. It builds patience, resilience, focus. It teaches you how to work with boredom, how to master your emotions, how to keep going without applause. It gives you a sense of control in a world full of chaos. And most of all, it proves that the version of you who doesn't quit is the one who wins. So if you're tired of starting over, stop stopping. Choose to be the person who shows up, the person who follows through, the person who understands that real change is never instant, but it is inevitable when you're consistent. Keep going, keep building. Keep building, because every small step done consistently will take you further than any burst of intensity ever could. You're wasting time overthinking everything. You already know what you need to do. But instead of taking that first uncomfortable step, you sit there and replay every possible scenario in your head. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not ready? What if it doesn't work out? Stop. That loop in your head is not strategy. That voice trying to convince you to wait, to plan more, to think it through just one more time. It's fear in disguise. It's not helping you. It's keeping you stuck. The truth is, overthinking is a form of self-sabotage. It gives you the illusion that you're being responsible or careful, but really you're just avoiding the discomfort of doing the thing. The longer you overthink, the further you drift from action. And action is the only thing that creates clarity. Let me say that again. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. You can't think your way into confidence. You can't analyze your way into progress. You've got to move. You've got to try. You've got to be willing to be bad at something before you can be good at it. But your brain doesn't want that. Your brain wants to keep you safe, to avoid risk, to avoid failure. So it tricks you. It says, let's keep thinking about it. It tells you that you're being wise when really you're just stalling. You don't need more time. You need more courage. You don't need another plan. You need to interrupt the pattern, that hesitation you feel before making a decision. That's the window. That's the moment you need to act. Not wait, not research, not ask 5 more people for their opinion. Just go. Make the call, send the email, launch the project. Speak up. Take the shot. Because every time you hesitate, you reinforce a habit of delay, and habits compound. If you make overthinking your default, it will steal years from your life without you even realizing it. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean you stop thinking entirely. It means you stop letting your thoughts control you. It means you learn to recognize when your mind is spiraling and you say, enough. I've thought about this long enough. Now it's time to do something. That's where the power is, in breaking the loop. And I get it. Overthinking feels safe. It feels familiar. It feels like you're preparing, but you're not. Preparation without action is just procrastination in disguise. And you know this. Deep down, you know that the version of yourself you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of that first uncomfortable step. So here's what you do. The next time you catch yourself in that mental loop, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. That's it. Interrupt the cycle and act. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be real. Take one small action. Send one message. Write one paragraph. Make one decision. Make one decision. Because that one move, it builds momentum. And momentum is everything. The longer you sit in indecision, the heavier the task feels. But the moment you take action, the weight starts to lift. You feel in control again. You feel capable again. You realize, oh, it wasn't that bad after all. Well, go. And that's how you grow. That's how you build confidence. Not by thinking about doing something, but by actually doing it. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who had perfect plans. They're the ones who acted while everyone else was still stuck in analysis paralysis. They failed faster. They learned quicker. They moved. That's what separates the doers from the dreamers. So if you want to change your life, stop wasting time overthinking it. Your future doesn't care about how long you sat in fear. It cares about what you did. It rewards the bold, the decisive, the ones who are willing to leap before they feel fully ready. Because guess what? You'll never feel fully ready. That's a lie your brain tells you to keep you in the comfort zone. And comfort zones are where dreams go to die. So stop waiting. Stop thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Start thinking about what could go right if you just acted. This is your wake-up call. Your thoughts aren't facts. Your fear isn't truth. And your hesitation is costing you more than you realize. You don't need permission. You need to get out of your head and into your life. Think less. Do more. That's how you take back control. That's how you stop wasting time and start building the life you actually want. One bold move at a time. Perfectionism might sound noble on the surface, but underneath, it's fear wearing a mask. It's procrastination dressed up to look like high standards. You tell yourself you're not launching yet because it's not good enough. You say the timing isn't right. You tell yourself you just need to tweak it one more time, get one more opinion, polish it a little more. But deep down, you know the truth, you're stalling. You're using perfection as a shield to protect yourself from failure, judgment, and vulnerability. You've convinced yourself that everything needs to be flawless before you show it to the world. And because of that belief, you're stuck. Let me tell you something that will change your life. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as the perfect plan, the perfect product, the perfect speech, the perfect time. Every single person you admire, every author, entrepreneur, artist, athlete, they didn't wait until it was perfect. They started messy. They launched before they were ready. They were scared. They were uncertain, but they moved anyway. And that's what separates people who make progress from those who stay in their heads, paralyzed by the pursuit of perfection. The harsh reality is that perfectionism wastes your time. It keeps you stuck in the cycle of constant tweaking, editing, adjusting. And while you're busy making your project better, someone else is out there doing it. While you're obsessing over details that most people won't even notice, someone else is learning by doing, gaining real-world feedback, growing faster than you. They're building confidence through action. Meanwhile, you're still in planning mode. You're still convincing yourself that you need more time, and that's a lie your fear tells you. Progress is what matters. Improvement happens in motion. You don't get better by sitting in a room trying to make something perfect. You get better by putting your work out there, seeing what works, what doesn't, and adjusting along the way. That's how you grow. That's how you evolve. But if you let perfectionism control you, you rob yourself of those experiences. You rob yourself of the lessons that only come from action. You need to understand this. Done is better than perfect. Taking imperfect action will always beat perfect intentions. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you never share it, it doesn't matter. You can have the most detailed plan, but if you don't act on it, it's worthless. The world doesn't reward the person who thought about doing something amazing. It rewards the person who actually did it, even if it wasn't perfect. This mindset shift is critical if you want to make progress. You have to stop tying your self-worth to the quality of your output. Your value isn't determined by how flawless something is. It's determined by your courage to show up, to try, to take risks, to be vulnerable. Because when you aim for perfection, you're really aiming to avoid criticism. You think, if I make it perfect, no one can judge me. But that's not how life works. Even the most polished, well-prepared people still get judged, still face criticism, still fail. So why not take the shot now, knowing that growth is messy, success is iterative, and the sooner you start, the faster you get there. It's time to let go of the belief that your work has to be flawless to be valuable. It doesn't. Your ideas are worth sharing, even in their early stages. Your projects are worth launching, even with flaws. Your voice is worth hearing, even if you stumble. Because the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be real, to be consistent, to move forward. That's how you gain momentum. And momentum, not perfection, is what changes lives. So the next time you catch yourself delaying, editing for the 100th time, or convincing yourself it's not ready, call yourself out. Ask, am I improving this or avoiding something? If the answer is avoidance, it's time to act. Release the draft. Make the post, send the pitch, speak the words. Whatever it is, do it. Not because it's perfect, but because it matters. You matter, your progress matters. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And if you're brave enough to start before you feel ready, you'll discover something powerful. You didn't need perfect, you just needed to begin. That's where your transformation starts. Scrolling is not a strategy. You sit down to work, and before you know it, you've spent 45 minutes deep in a rabbit hole of content that has absolutely nothing to do with your goal. You tell yourself it's just a break, just a quick look at Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. But that quick break turns into wasted hours. You're consuming other people's lives, other people's ideas, other people's progress, while your own dreams sit untouched. It feels like you're doing something because your brain is stimulated, but you're not. You're just being distracted. You're reacting, not creating. And that distinction is everything. We live in a world that thrives on your distraction. Social media platforms are engineered, literally designed, to keep you scrolling. They prey on your attention, your curiosity, your boredom. Every swipe, every like, every view gives you a dopamine hit that makes your brain think something important is happening. But nothing is happening. Not in your real life. While you're watching other people chase their goals, build their businesses, create their content, you're doing none of that for yourself. You're caught in a cycle of passive consumption, and that cycle is slowly stealing your time, your focus, and your potential. Let's be honest. You don't need more inspiration. You already know what you want. You already have ideas. What you need is to stop numbing your discomfort with distraction. Because that's what scrolling is. It's avoidance. You're avoiding the hard work, the uncertainty, the vulnerability of actually doing the thing. You think watching one more video, one more podcast clip, one more day in the life will finally get you moving, but it won't. At some point, you have to stop looking for motivation and start creating discipline. At some point, you have to shut the noise off and trust yourself to act without needing another hit of inspiration. Being a passive observer won't change your life. Only action will. And that starts with taking your time and attention back. Every hour you spend watching other people is an hour you could have spent building your own thing, writing your own story, developing your own voice. If you have time to scroll, you have time to start. You just have to choose differently. And I get it. Creating is hard. It's uncomfortable. It requires effort, intention, and emotional energy. But that's the point. The very thing you're avoiding is the thing that will move you forward. This isn't about never using social media. It's about being intentional. Use it as a tool, not a crutch. If you're learning, studying, or genuinely connecting, great. But if you're just escaping reality, numbing discomfort, or comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, that's a problem. Because while you're scrolling, life is happening. Time is passing. And nobody is going to come pull your dreams out of your back pocket for you. That's your job. You have to decide that your goals matter more than someone else's vacation photos or productivity hacks or motivational clips. You already have enough information. You already know what the next step is. You just haven't taken it because it's easier to scroll than to act. But easy doesn't get you where you want to go. Easy keeps you average. Easy keeps you stuck. And the truth is, when you finally stop distracting yourself and start showing up consistently, you'll realize that the life you want isn't as far away as you think. It's just buried under all the time you've been giving away to things that don't matter. So here's your challenge. The next time you reach for your phone out of habit, stop. Ask yourself, is this helping me or distracting me? If it's distraction, put the phone down and do one small thing that moves you forward. One sentence, one rep, one email, one step. One step, that's how momentum starts. Not in a feed, but in the decision to act. You don't need more motivation. You need to take control of your time. You need to become a creator of your life, not a consumer of everyone else's. This is your moment to shift. You can choose to be present, to be intentional. To be intentional. To trade scrolling for strategy. Your goals deserve your full attention. Your future deserves your best effort. So stop wasting time watching and start building, because every second you give away to meaningless content is a second stolen from the life you actually want. Waiting for motivation is one of the biggest lies you've been taught. Somewhere along the way, you started believing that you had to feel ready, inspired, or excited to start something meaningful. You started associating action with emotion, as if motivation was the fuel that gets the engine going. But it's not. Motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. It shows up when it wants. Most of the time, it doesn't show up at all. If you sit around waiting for it, you'll waste days, weeks, months, even years of your life waiting for a feeling that was never designed to come first. Action is what triggers motivation, not the other way around. Think about it. How many times have you had a goal in your head, something you genuinely wanted to do, but you didn't feel like doing it? You told yourself, I'll start when I'm more motivated. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll wait until the timing feels right. But that magical moment of readiness never came. Why? Because your brain prefers comfort. It doesn't naturally want to push you into discomfort, challenge, or risk. It wants to keep you safe. That's why motivation doesn't come on command. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. It's your job to override that. The truth is, you don't need to feel like doing something in order to do it. You just need to decide. You need to act even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that action, the very thing you're avoiding, is what creates momentum. And momentum is the real secret. Once you take that first step, even if it's small, you create movement. That movement changes your emotional state. It gives you a win. It tells your brain, hey, we're doing this. And suddenly, the motivation you were waiting for shows up. Not before, but after you start. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts you can make. Stop relying on motivation and start relying on habits. Habits are what carry you when your feelings don't cooperate. Discipline is what gets you through the days when you'd rather quit. Motivation might get you started once or twice, but habits and discipline are what build consistency. And consistency is where real growth lives. You want to change your life? Don't wait for a good mood. Don't wait for the right moment. Create a system that works even when you don't feel like it. You have to become the kind of person who acts regardless of emotion. You have to learn to take the first step before you feel ready, because ready is a myth. It's a moving target. If you keep chasing it, you'll never catch it. But if you commit to action, no matter what, you'll start seeing results. And those results will fuel you. They'll build your confidence. They'll create a feedback loop of progress. That's how motivation becomes sustainable, by doing, not by waiting. It starts with something simple. You set a goal, you break it down, and then you do the first thing. Whether you feel like it or not, you don't negotiate with yourself, you don't debate it, you just move. That's the power of the 5-second rule. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and act. Get out of your head and into your life. Interrupt the pattern of hesitation and replace it with momentum. Because if you don't take control of your actions, your excuses will. You have to treat motivation like a bonus, not a requirement. When it's there, great, use it, ride the wave. But when it's not, which will be most of the time, your habits have to take over. Your why has to take over. Your commitment to your future self has to be louder than the voice in your head saying, "Not today." So stop waiting. The perfect mood is not coming. The ideal conditions aren't coming. The fire in your belly motivation that hits like lightning, that might never show up. But you can still show up. You can still take action. And that action is what builds everything you say you want. Stop tying your success to how you feel. Start tying it to what you do. Because that's the real difference between people who move forward and people who stay stuck. The doers act regardless, the rest wait. And while they're waiting, the doers are out there building the life they once only dreamed about. People-pleasing might look like kindness on the outside, but inside, it's a hidden form of self-betrayal. Every time you say yes when you really want to say no, you're not just being polite. You're putting someone else's needs ahead of your own in a way that chips away at your time, your energy, and your sense of self. You're not helping. You're hiding. You're afraid of disappointing people, afraid of being judged, afraid of conflict. So instead of standing your ground, you bend. And the more you bend, the more out of alignment you become with who you really are and what you really want. Let's call it what it is. People-pleasing is time theft. You are literally handing over your life, one yes at a time, to things that don't serve your goals, your values, or your peace. You take on extra work you didn't want. You show up to events that drain you. You respond to texts when you're exhausted. You overextend, overcommit, and over-apologize. all to keep the peace or avoid guilt. And while you're doing that, guess what's not getting done? Your own priorities, your own growth, your own rest. It's not that you don't have enough time. It's that you've given too much of it away trying to be everything for everyone. And here's the hard truth. The people-pleasing doesn't make people like you more. It makes them expect more. When you consistently show up in a way that says, your needs are more important than mine, people get used to it. You train them to take advantage of your time and energy, even if they're not doing it maliciously. You set the standard. And when you finally do try to set a boundary, they push back. Not because they're bad people, but because you taught them that your default answer is yes. So why do we do it? It goes back to fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of being seen as selfish. But protecting your peace is not selfish. Saying no is not rude. Having boundaries is not cold. It's healthy. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to something that does. Your time is your most valuable resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's gone. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to it. You have to start trusting yourself enough to disappoint others if it means staying true to you. Not everyone is going to like it. Some people will be upset. That's okay. Let them be. Your job is not to manage other people's feelings. Your job is to manage your life. Every time you choose to honor your boundaries, you build self-respect. And the more you do that, the less tolerance you'll have for anything that drains or distracts you. Start small. The next time someone asks for your time or energy, pause. Ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Not, will they be upset if I don't? Not, what will they think? But, is this aligned with my priorities right now? If the answer is no, say no. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation or an apology. A simple, I can't commit to that right now, is enough. And if that feels hard, good. That's the point. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to stretch you. The more you practice this, the more empowered you become. You'll start noticing how much lighter you feel when you're no longer carrying everyone else's expectations. You'll have more time to focus on your goals, your passions, your peace. You'll start showing up to your life, not just other people's lives. And ironically, you'll probably find that the people who matter most respect you more for it. Because people sense when you're being authentic. They sense when you're acting from a place of strength instead of fear. People-pleasing might feel like love, but real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. Real respect doesn't come from being constantly available. It comes from being honest about what you can and cannot give. So stop saying yes out of guilt. Start saying no with confidence. Your time is too precious, your energy too sacred, and your dreams too important to keep putting yourself last. You're not here to live someone else's life. You're here to live yours, boldly, unapologetically, and on your terms. And that starts the moment you stop pleasing and start choosing. Comparison is one of the most toxic habits you can fall into, and yet it's one of the easiest. It happens almost automatically. You scroll through social media, see someone doing what you want to do, and suddenly, instead of feeling inspired, you feel inadequate. Their success feels like your failure. Their highlight reel makes your real life seem boring, slow, or not good enough. And here's the kicker. You're not even making a fair comparison. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's carefully curated, filtered, and edited moments. It's not real, but your self-doubt is. Comparison robs you of the most important thing you have, your focus. When you're looking at someone else's journey, you're not tending to your own. You're wasting mental energy analyzing someone else's choices, pace, and results, instead of putting that energy into your own growth. You start second-guessing yourself. You hesitate. You start thinking you're too late, or not talented enough, or that you missed your window, and all of that is a lie. You're not behind. You're not late. You're just distracted. The truth is, someone else's success doesn't mean there's less for you. Life is not a race or a zero-sum game. It's not like there's only one spot at the top and someone else already claimed it. There is room for everyone. But you can't find your own lane if you're always looking sideways. You can't hear your own voice if you're always listening to someone else's. You can't build your unique path if you're constantly trying to copy what's working for other people. You have to understand that your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's. Your timing, your process, your challenges, They're all custom designed for you. What took someone else 2 years might take you 5. What looks like overnight success for them might be the result of a decade of work you didn't see. You can't compare results without understanding the full context. And honestly, even if you knew every detail of their story, it still wouldn't change your own. You still have to do your work in your way at your pace. This doesn't mean you can't learn from others. You absolutely can. You should. But learn, don't compare. 5. Study people for insight, not for self-judgment. Let their success prove that it's possible, not that you're behind. Use what resonates and leave the rest. The moment you shift from comparison to curiosity, you take your power back. You stop using someone else's progress as a weapon against yourself, and you start using it as fuel for your own. You also have to remember that no one is posting their whole story. You're seeing a snapshot, a moment in time, not the failures, not the doubts, not the nights they almost quit, and chances are, the person you're comparing yourself to, they're comparing themselves to someone else, too. We're all dealing with insecurity in some form. You're not the only one wondering if you're enough. But if you keep looking outward for validation, you'll always feel like you're falling short. The only metric that really matters is who you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you putting in the work? That's the standard. That's where your focus needs to be. Because when you compare yourself to your past self, you see the truth. You've come farther than you give yourself credit for. You've overcome things that once felt impossible, and you're not done yet. Your story is still unfolding. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling, watching, analyzing, stop, pause and ask, is this helping me grow? Or is it distracting me from my purpose? If it's the latter, close the app, put your phone down and come back to your own life. Come back to your goals. Come back to your next step. Because that's the only thing that's actually in your control. Your actions, your choices, your mindset. Comparison will always try to pull you away from your power, but you don't have to listen. You can choose to stay rooted in your own path. You can choose to trust your own timing. You can choose to believe that your journey, with all its twists, setbacks, and victories, is exactly what it needs to be. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming, and that is more than enough. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is underestimating the power of small, consistent steps. So many people wait for the big moment, the grand opportunity, the perfect plan before they take action. They think success is built on huge breakthroughs or once-in-a-lifetime chances. But the truth is, greatness is rarely built in loud, dramatic moments. It's built quietly, day after day, in the small, often invisible choices you make when no one is watching. Skipping those small actions, brushing off the tiny habits, thinking it won't matter if I do it tomorrow instead. That's where most people lose. Not in a single catastrophic decision, but in the slow, silent erosion of consistency. We live in a world that praises overnight success and viral breakthroughs, but what they don't show you is the years of practice, the discipline, the repetition that made that success possible. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's the truth. The person who shows up every single day, tired, unmotivated, even uncertain, but still puts in the reps, still writes the words, still trains, still makes the calls. That's the person who wins. Not the one who works in bursts when they feel inspired, but the one who's willing to be consistent even when it's boring, even when no one is clapping. You have to stop thinking that small actions are meaningless. That 5-minute workout, that one healthy meal, that single page of writing, that extra 10 minutes reviewing your goals. It compounds. Every single action is a vote for the person you want to become. The problem is that the results aren't instant, and we've been conditioned to expect fast results. But the results you can't see immediately are often the most powerful ones. Like building a foundation underground, no one sees it, but it holds everything up. Consistency is what builds self-trust. When you show up for yourself every day, even in the smallest way, you start believing that you are capable, dependable, and disciplined. And once you believe that, everything changes. Your confidence doesn't come from motivation. It comes from evidence that you follow through, that you keep going, that you finish what you start, and that evidence only comes from showing up, not once in a while, but every day. And let's be clear, being consistent doesn't mean being perfect. You will miss days, you will slip up. That's not failure, that's life. What matters is how quickly you come back, What matters is not letting a bad day become a bad week or a bad month. You don't throw out the whole plan because of one mistake. You recommit, you reset, you keep going. That's the mindset that separates the doers from the dreamers. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see progress right away, but consistency is like planting seeds. You water them every day, but you don't see the sprout for weeks. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means growth is happening underground. And if you stop watering too soon because you don't see results, you kill the potential before it even has a chance to show up. You have to stay patient. You have to stay committed. You have to believe that the work you're doing is building something, even if you can't see it yet. If you look at anyone who's achieved something remarkable, you'll find a trail of small, consistent efforts behind them. They weren't always the most talented or the smartest, but they were the most disciplined. They kept showing up. They kept doing the work. They didn't rely on luck. They relied on habits. And that's something you can do too. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to commit to the process and trust that it will work if you do. So ask yourself, what's the small action you're avoiding? What's the one thing you know would move you forward, even just a little bit, that you've been telling yourself you'll do later? That's your starting point. Do it now. Then do it again tomorrow and the next day. Because consistency isn't about intensity. It's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to rely on motivation to take action. It's about choosing discipline even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's how you build something real. That's how you make progress that sticks. One small step every single day. Keep showing up. It matters more than you think. You've been told your whole life that hard work is the key to success. That if you just put in the hours, hustle harder than everyone else, grind until your eyes bleed, you'll make it. But let me tell you something that might challenge everything you've ever believed. Hard work without strategy is just motion, not progress. And motion feels productive. It looks impressive from the outside, but it's not necessarily moving you closer to what you really want. Think about this. You can run on a treadmill for hours, dripping in sweat, exhausted, completely spent, and you'll still be in the same place. Why? Because the treadmill isn't taking you anywhere. That's what it's like when you're working hard without a clear direction, without intention, without systems in place. You are busy, but you're not necessarily effective. That's not success. That's survival mode. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They fill their to-do lists with low-value tasks, respond to emails all day, jump from one meeting to another, and they go to bed thinking, wow, I worked so hard today. But did you move the needle? Did you make a meaningful decision? Did you create something that has impact? Did you take one intentional step closer to your goal? Or did you just check boxes and exhaust yourself? Now listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard. I'm saying that working hard in the wrong direction is the fastest way to burn out. It's like climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. You get to the top and realize you're in the wrong place. And that hurts more than failing because you invested so much. You sacrifice sleep, time with your family, your mental health, all for something that wasn't even aligned with what you wanted. Here's where working smart comes in. Working smart means pausing long enough to ask, why am I doing this? Is this the most valuable use of my time? Is this action leading to the outcome I want? Or just keeping me busy so I feel in control? We avoid asking those questions because they require honesty. They require us to admit that maybe, just maybe, we've been climbing the wrong mountain. But that's also where freedom starts. That's where real progress begins. You don't need to do more. You need to do better. And that starts with clarity. You can't work smart if you don't know what you're aiming for. If your goal is vague, I want to be successful or I just want to grow, you're going to run in circles. You've got to get specific. What does success look like? What's the target? What's the end game? Only then can you reverse engineer your steps and start applying strategy to your effort. I'll give you a simple truth. Successful people don't just outwork everyone, they outthink them. They pause, they plan, they delegate, they say no to the distractions that others say yes to. They identify the few key actions that actually matter and they double down on those. That's not laziness. That's precision. That's intelligence. That's working smart. And you know what? It's not glamorous. You don't get a standing ovation for choosing to rest instead of saying yes to one more task. You don't get praise for not doing something. But those choices, saying no, staying focused, protecting your time, those are the choices that separate busy people from impactful people. So stop romanticizing the grind. Stop wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. It's not a trophy, it's a warning sign. If you're always tired, always stressed, always behind, it's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because your effort isn't being applied with clarity and focus. Working smart is not about doing less. It's about doing what matters more. And when you do that, your time stretches, your energy rises, and your results multiply. Success is not about the number of hours you work. It's about what you do with those hours. Make them count. Choose impact over activity. That's how you stop spinning and start winning. Not all tasks are created equal. Let that sink in for a second. Just because something is on your to-do list doesn't mean it deserves your energy, your focus, or your time. In fact, if you want to succeed, not just stay busy, not just get through the day, but actually succeed, you have to learn how to focus on high-impact activities. That's the secret. That's the difference between people who are constantly grinding and people who are actually growing. Let's talk about the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. It's a concept that shows up everywhere, from business to relationships to productivity. It says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Think about that. That means out of everything you're doing, every email, every meeting, every task on your list, only a small handful of those things are actually moving the needle. The rest, it's noise, it's filler. It's stuff you're doing to feel productive, not to actually be productive. Here's where most people get stuck. They treat every task like it's equally important. They answer every email. They attend every meeting. They say yes to every request. And as a result, they're spread thin. They're overwhelmed. They're exhausted. But they're not moving forward. Why? Because they're majoring in minor things. They're investing precious energy into activities that don't actually produce results. Focusing on high-impact activities means getting brutally honest about what really matters. It means identifying the few actions that generate the biggest return on your effort and giving those your best time, energy, and attention. It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things consistently and intentionally. So how do you find those high-impact activities? Start by asking yourself, what tasks actually produce results? If you're building a business, for example, high-impact activities might include creating offers, generating leads, closing sales, and improving your product. Everything else, branding, colors, fonts, tweaking your website for the 10th time, that's not going to change your life. That's not going to pay your bills. That's not impact, that's avoidance. In your personal life, the same rule applies. If your goal is to improve your health, the high-impact activities might be exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, and eating whole foods. But what do most people focus on instead? They obsess over supplements, watch endless fitness videos, or spend hours researching diets they never commit to. That's not progress. That's procrastination disguised as productivity. You need to stop mistaking motion for progress. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're effective. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. Successful people don't get caught up in the noise. They're not trying to check every box. They're trying to check the right ones. And they're willing to let the small stuff slide so they can focus on the big stuff that actually changes the game. This also means you have to make peace with not doing everything. That's hard for a lot of people, especially if you're wired to be a people pleaser or if you get your sense of worth from being busy. But here's the truth. You're not here to do it all. You're here to do what matters. The rest is just distraction. Time is not your most valuable resource. Attention is. You can waste a whole day by giving your attention to the wrong things. And once your attention is gone, the day is gone with it. But when you direct your attention toward high-impact actions, when you protect it, prioritize it, and aim it with purpose, that's when you start to gain momentum. That's when you see progress. That's when things change. So take a hard look at your daily habits. What are you doing that truly creates value? What are you doing that actually moves you closer to your goals? It's It's a series of intentional surges followed by recovery. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. It's being disciplined enough to rest so you can show up when it really matters. Time is finite, but your energy is renewable. If you manage it right, fuel your body, fuel your mind, fuel your mind. Stop pouring yourself into things that don't matter. Stop waking up and immediately handing your energy to your phone, to social media, to other people's agendas. Start your day by checking in with you. What do you need? What deserves your best energy today? What will move your life forward? When you begin to manage your energy with intention, everything changes. You start showing up as your best self more often. You stop feeling like you're always behind. You begin to produce higher quality work in less time. That's how you work smart. That's how you win. By understanding that energy is the real currency of success, protect it, prioritize it, and spend it where it counts. Success isn't just about effort. It's about systems. It's about tools. It's about setting yourself up so that progress becomes inevitable, not optional. The people who succeed at the highest levels don't just rely on motivation or willpower. They build environments that support their success. They build routines that reduce friction. They build systems that make the right decisions automatic. That's the smart way to work. Think about it like this. Every single day, your brain is being bombarded with decisions: what to wear, what to eat, when to start, what to do next. It's exhausting. This constant decision-making drains your mental energy even before you've done anything meaningful. That's called decision fatigue. And when you're tired mentally, you start choosing what's easy instead of what's effective. That's why systems and tools matter. They take the weight off your brain. They remove the need to make the same choices over and over again. Let me give you a practical example. Someone who wakes up every day and decides in the moment whether or not to go to the gym is going to fail more often than succeed. Not because they're lazy, but because they don't have a system. Compare that to someone who lays out their clothes the night before, blocks out the time in their calendar, and has a set workout plan. That person doesn't rely on motivation. They rely on a routine. They've made it easier to win. This principle applies to everything. Everything. If you're trying to grow your business, for instance, do you have a lead generation system? Or are you just posting randomly and hoping people notice? If you're managing your finances, do you have a budgeting tool? Or are you just checking your bank balance and guessing what's okay to spend? If you're building new habits, are you tracking them, reinforcing them, and designing your environment to support them? Or just winging it and getting frustrated when nothing sticks? Working smart means leveraging tools that save time and energy. That could be using task management apps to organize your work, automating your calendar, batching your content, or scheduling blocks of deep, focused time where no one can interrupt you. It could be as simple as setting alarms, reminders, or using AI tools to streamline repetitive tasks. This is not cheating. It's optimizing. It's about getting more output with less stress. And here's the key. Tools and systems don't have to be fancy. They just have to work. A notebook and a pen can be a powerful system if you use them consistently. A 10-minute morning routine can change your whole day if it brings you clarity and focus. The goal isn't to complicate your life. It's to simplify the path to your goals. The fewer decisions you have to make, the more energy you'll have to focus on what matters. Another powerful part of working smart is eliminating friction. Friction is anything that makes taking action harder than it needs to be. If it takes you 10 minutes to find your files every time you sit down to work, that's friction. If you're trying to eat healthy, but your fridge is full of junk, that's friction. If you're trying to write, but your phone is blowing up with notifications every 5 seconds, that's friction. And smart workers remove friction before it becomes a reason to quit. So ask yourself, where is the friction in your life? What simple change could you make to remove one step between you and your goal? Sometimes, working smart means putting the healthy snacks at the front of the fridge. Sometimes it means deleting the apps that distract you. Sometimes it means pre-writing your plan the night before so you can hit the ground running. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be intentional. Here's the truth. You're already working hard. You care. You're trying. But if you don't have systems, tools, and routines in place, you're wasting valuable energy just trying to stay organized. That energy should be going toward creation, execution, and growth, not logistics. Success isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things in a smarter way. The smartest people in the world don't spend their time chasing more hours. They spend their time building systems that make the hours they already have more powerful. They use tools to multiply their effort. They create habits that align with their goals. They design their life in a way that pulls them forward instead of constantly pushing themselves uphill. That's what working smart really means. It means stacking the deck in your favor. It means building a foundation that does half the heavy lifting for you. Because when your life is designed with systems and tools that support your goals, you don't just move faster, you move further, and you stay consistent. That's the real edge. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to success is believing they have to say yes to everything. Every opportunity, every meeting, every request for help, every distraction that shows up disguised as something urgent or important. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything is the fastest way to dilute your focus, drain your energy, and slow down your progress. If you want to work smart, not just hard, you have to master the power of saying no. This isn't about being rude or selfish. It's about being clear about your goals, clear about your values, clear about what actually deserves your time. Because every yes is a commitment, whether you realize it or not. And when you say yes to something that doesn't align with your vision, you're saying no to the things that do. Time and energy are limited. You can't give both away freely and expect to still have enough left to build something great. People think boundaries are walls. They're not. They're filters. They protect what's most important to you. They allow the right things in and keep the wrong things out. Smart workers don't say yes out of guilt. They don't say yes to be liked. They say yes when it's aligned, when it makes sense, when it adds value to their mission, not just to their schedule. Let's be honest. Most of us are overcommitted. We're overwhelmed not because we're lazy or unmotivated, but because we've given our time away like it's unlimited. We've said yes to things that sounded good in the moment, but ended up becoming distractions, obligations, or energy leaks. And once those commitments are on your calendar, they don't go away on their own. They take up space, mental, emotional, and physical. You start living reactively instead of proactively. Working smart means knowing what's essential and having the courage to say no to everything else. It means giving yourself permission to not be everything to everyone. It means not attending that meeting just because you were invited. It means not taking on that extra project just because you have the skills. It means not replying to every message immediately just to prove you're available. You're not here to be available. You're here to be effective. And here's what happens when you start saying no with intention. Your yes becomes more powerful. When you say yes to something, it means you've thought it through. You've chosen it on purpose. You've made space for it in your life. That yes is aligned. It's energized. It's backed by clarity and intention. That's the kind of yes that leads to results. But getting there takes practice. If you've spent your whole life being the go-to person, the reliable one, the one who always steps up, saying no might feel wrong at first. You'll worry that people will think you've changed. You'll fear they'll be disappointed. But here's what you need to understand. Your time is your responsibility. No one else is going to protect it for you. If you don't learn how to set boundaries, people will keep taking from your plate, even when you're already running on empty. You don't need to explain your no. You don't need a long story or an apology. Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm focused on something else right now. That's enough. The right people will respect it. The wrong people never respected your boundaries in the first place. Success isn't built on doing more. It's built on doing what matters. And what matters can only thrive when you create space for it. That space doesn't appear on its own. You create it by consciously removing the things that don't belong, by refusing to crowd your life with obligations that don't align, by choosing depth over breadth. When you start treating your time and energy like they're valuable, everything changes. You stop operating from a place of pressure and start leading from a place of power. You show up more fully for the things you've committed to. You make better decisions. You become more focused, more calm, more intentional. Saying no isn't shutting a door. It's opening the right one. It's drawing a line that protects your ability to do meaningful, impactful work. And that's not just smart, that's necessary. Because if you don't guard your time, the world will fill it for you. And not with what you want, but with what it wants. So stop saying yes to everything. Start saying yes to what matters. That's how you reclaim your power. That's how you work with clarity. That's how you win. There's a dangerous myth floating around that success is about doing everything perfectly. That you have to have the right plan, make flawless decisions, avoid failure at all costs, and always know exactly what you're doing. But the truth is far from that. In reality, the people who succeed, the ones who actually build something meaningful, are the ones who take action even when things aren't perfect. They move forward while they're still figuring it out. They don't wait until they feel ready. They start anyway. Working smart doesn't mean waiting for the stars to align. It means moving with speed, adjusting as you go, and learning from the feedback that only comes from taking action. You can sit around and plan for weeks, months, or even years and still not be any closer to your goal. Because no amount of planning will ever substitute for actually doing the thing. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They want certainty before they act. They want to know the outcome before they take the first step. But that's not how growth works. Growth happens through movement, through experience, through mistakes. You learn faster by doing than by overthinking. You get better by engaging, not by sitting on the sidelines analyzing every possible outcome. Think about the most successful people in any field. They didn't start with perfection. They started with courage. They made a decision, they took messy action, and then they refined along the way. Whether it's launching a business, changing careers, improving your health, or building a skill, success comes from motion. It comes from iteration. It comes from being willing to take imperfect steps in the right direction. We live in a world obsessed with perfection, and it's paralyzing people. Social media makes it worse because we only see the polished versions of other people's journey. We see the end result, not the 1,000 messy drafts it took to get there. And so we convince ourselves that we have to get it right on the first try, that if we can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. But perfection is the enemy of progress. It kills momentum. It convinces you to wait. It tricks you into believing that you're not ready, when in fact, the only way to get ready is to start. Working smart means choosing progress over perfection. It means understanding that action is the real teacher. You can't think your way into confidence. You build confidence through action. Every time you take a step, even a small one, you're proving to yourself that you're capable. Every time you follow through, you're reinforcing belief. And that belief, that's where real growth starts. You have to get comfortable with being a beginner. You have to allow yourself to be messy, awkward, and uncertain. Because that's the path. No one starts out with mastery. No one avoids every mistake. The people you admire didn't get there by playing it safe. They got there by showing up again and again, even when they didn't have all the answers. You also have to be willing to fail and to redefine what failure even means. Failure isn't the end. It's feedback. It's information. It's the universe showing you what doesn't work so you can get closer to what does. Every mistake contains a lesson. Every setback builds resilience. The only true failure is staying stuck in fear, doing nothing, and pretending that waiting will somehow bring success closer. Here's the shift. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" start asking, "What might I learn?" Instead of obsessing over the perfect strategy, commit to taking the first step and adjusting as needed. That's how smart people work. They don't wait until everything is certain. They create momentum through action. They stay flexible. They iterate, they fail forward. So stop holding yourself back because it's not perfect yet. Stop waiting until you feel ready because you might be waiting forever. Start where you are with what you have and trust that you'll figure it out as you go. That's how all great things begin, not with perfect plans, but with bold moves. Success is not about flawless execution. It's about relentless progression. Smart work is messy, uncomfortable, and full of unknowns. But it's also where the magic happens. When you let go of perfection and embrace action, you step into your power. You create momentum. You become unstoppable. One of the most overlooked elements of working smart is reflection. Not in the vague sit around and think kind of way, but in the intentional act of reviewing, analyzing, and adjusting your actions. Because if you're not stopping to reflect, you're probably repeating the same mistake. You're likely wasting time on tasks that don't move you forward. You may be confusing being busy with being productive. And here's the truth. Growth doesn't just come from doing, it comes from learning while doing. And learning only happens when you pause long enough to ask yourself the right questions. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They work hard, they push themselves, they fill their schedule with back-to-back tasks, and then they crash, frustrated because they're not seeing progress. But success doesn't come from constant motion. It comes from intentional motion, and that means taking the time to ask what worked this week. What didn't? Where did my time go? What drained me? What gave me energy? Where did I make progress? Where did I fall short? These questions may seem simple, but they are powerful. Because when you begin to examine your habits, your focus, and your choices, you become aware of what's actually working for you and what's just noise. That awareness is how you make smarter decisions moving forward. Reflection helps you cut through the clutter. It helps you stop doing what doesn't serve you and start doubling down on what does. Think of it this way. Every successful person you admire, from athletes to CEOs, has a review process. They study their performance. They look at what they did, how it played out, and what they'll do differently next time. Why? Because feedback is the fastest way to grow. But most people never give themselves that feedback. They're so focused on doing more that they never stop to ask if they're doing the right things. When you reflect, you start to see patterns. Maybe you realize that you're most productive in the morning, but you've been wasting those hours checking email. Maybe you notice that a certain task always takes twice as long as you expect because you get distracted halfway through. Maybe you spot the same mindset blocks showing up every time you try something new. All of this information is gold, but you only find it when you look for it. Working smart isn't just about charging ahead, it's about learning as you go. Reflection turns your experience into wisdom. It allows you to pivot quickly, to course correct when necessary, and to evolve in real time. And that ability to adapt fast is what separates people who plateau from people who keep leveling up. The other beautiful thing about reflection is that it builds self-trust. When you make time to check in with yourself, you start to develop a deeper understanding of how you work best. You stop comparing yourself to everyone else. You stop copying strategies that don't align with your strength. Instead, you build your own roadmap, one that's based on what actually works for you. And let's be honest, reflection doesn't have to take hours. 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the day, or a short weekly review can completely change the game. It gives you clarity, it helps you close mental loops, it reduces overwhelm, and most importantly, it gives you a sense of control, because when you reflect, you're no longer reacting to life. You're actively directing it. Reflection is not about judgment. It's not about beating yourself up for what you didn't do. It's about learning. It's about observing without attachment. It's about gathering insight so you can move forward with more focus and confidence. That's what smart working is all about. Using your experiences as fuel, not baggage. So start asking better questions. Build a habit of checking in with yourself regularly. What am I proud of? What needs improvement? What did I learn about myself today? What do I want to try differently tomorrow? These questions are not fluff. They're the foundation of growth. If you're willing to work hard, that's great. But if you want to go further faster, then you need to work smart. And working smart means reflecting often. Because the most powerful lessons don't come from books or gurus, they come from you. From your wins, from your failures, from your ability to pause, reflect, and choose a better next step. That's how you build momentum. That's how you sharpen your edge. That's how you win, by learning from the life you're already living.